The time is 6:39. I'd like to call this regular Board of Education meeting to order. The first item on our agenda for this evening is the roll call for those Board of Education members who are present. Trustee Goodrich, would you perform the roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam President. Trustee Fields. Trustee Fields. Trustee Townsend. Present. Trustee Goodrich, I am here. Vice President Lee. Here. President Hawkins.
Here. We currently have 5 Board of Education members who are present and 2 who are not here. Next, that takes us to the Pledge of Allegiance, and at this time, I would like to invite everyone in attendance to join us in reciting of the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, that takes us to the acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Vice President Lee, move that the Board of Education accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion? Thank you. Supported by Trustee Fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to achievements, awards, and recognition. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. Recently, we received notification by the Michigan School business officials that Damian Butler, our Chief Financial Officer, completed the MSBO Business Manager Academy at Genesee Career Institute. This program reflects a high degree of participation, mentoring with peers, or facilitator, and hands-on application of the school business skills. The Business Manager Academy required an 11-month commitment without outside engagement with the cohort. And so we are really proud of this accomplishment. And so we are letting the board know and our community know about his accomplishment. And this is a positive light on our school district and the commitment to our ongoing professional development and ongoing engagement in our deep learning at the executive cabinet level. So we congratulate Damian Butler.
Congratulations on this accomplishment. Next, that takes us to a request for a closed session this evening. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Vice President Lee, move that the Board of Education go into closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meeting Act to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion?
Support, Trustee Townsend.
Thank you. Supported by Trustee Townsend. The time is 6:43. The board will convene into closed session, and we will return back to this room after closed session and go back into open session. We didn't. I'm all ahead. Thank y'all. President Lee, supported by Trustee Townsend. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. The same applies. The board will leave and we will reconvene in open session once we are done. 6:43. The time is 7:47. The Board of Education is back in open session. At this time, 7:47. Thank you, thank you. At this time, that takes us to our first public comment section of the evening. And we have a member of the public wishing to address the board. I will read the public comment protocol and invite that member of the public to come up to address the board. Pursuant to Board of Education Policy 0167.3, the board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express their views. Please limit statements to 3 minutes in duration. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. No person may address or question board members individually, and all remarks shall be made in a respectful and professional manner. Donald Johnson?
I have a question regarding the incident at the middle school involving a student in Josh Smith. First of all, were the parents notified of the incident in any manner? Was there like a mailer that went out to all the parents explaining the manner and the administrative actions taken to deal with it? Then I asked, okay, and I'm looking at news articles on this, and these news articles are somewhat conflicting as to whether he was arrested immediately for assault, because the video already clearly shows an assault. The suit, and then of course there's a civil suit, which I understand you can't talk about, but even though the defendants were aware of Smith's behavior, they refused to take action to properly investigate Smith, separated him from the students, the athletes, terminated his employment. Okay, and then also in the suit, she alleges, Yolanda Ellis alleges she had in place constitutional policies that allow staff to inflict physical punishment. And my understanding from the news articles that involved having students do push-ups. So these are just questions that I'm asking because I have not seen any kind of follow-up on this since June 24. I haven't seen any kind of position statement from the district regarding saying, I'm not even sure that the suit has been filed. That's my question.
Thank you for your comments, Donald Johnson. It is not our practice to respond to questions at the board table, but we have your information and we can have someone follow up with you. Thank you. Next, that takes us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Trustee Fields, move that the Board of Education approve the July 8th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes. Personnel matters as per the presented list date 8/5 and new hires and resignations. View, okay, and then for July 20th regular meeting, that's all running together. I'm sorry, I'm confused. And then in the consistent, reliable core district processes and systems, is that correct? Because it's all running together, so I'm sorry, it was like the colors was messing me up on this.
Oh, no, you're fine, Trustee
Okay.
Fields. Just items 1 and 2 that you read are fine.
Oh, okay.
So a motion has been made by Trustee Fields. Is there support for this motion?
Support Vice President Lee.
Thank you. Supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion carries. Next, that takes us to our first action item for the evening, which is under Student Affairs. And that is number 9, the approval for annual instructional material contracts. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Trustee Townsend, move that the Board of Education approve the HMH into reading student 3-year grades K through second, quote,
for a purchase of $41,260.30. HMH into reading teacher 1 year grades K through 2, quote, for a purchase in the amount of $10,576.89. Number 3, HMH into reading professional services, quote, for a purchase amount of $26,500. And number 4, HMH Amira practice 3 year, quote, for a purchase amount of $55,068.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion?
Support, Vice President Lee.
Thank you. Supported by Vice President Lee. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, please. Vice President Lee. I have 2 questions, please. Will this be compatible with the, what was it, that we, last month, we voted on Hills, yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Lopez.
Very, very well. As you know, that the state of Michigan shifted to the science of reading. So one of the biggest challenges was reading initially we can find first through 5. But we really want to second and HMH develop and so forth.
Okay, now my second question is, I was looking this over in HMH Amira. Did I say that right? Okay. I saw in there that something about dyslexia. Do it train you on identifying the students that may have a type of dyslexia?
Now, Mira, we have purchasing 2 years, Mira, the assessment. One of the things that the research indicates very heavily that it is program and to be a full for the children. Like, also, with many 500 students struggle with literacy. And so the initiative, you know, desperate and 2 years ago and trying to get it.
Mhm.
So we secure. Build it into the ground. So you know when you think you do something, so
Mhm.
yes, one is good.
Right.
And then this new
Mhm. So the teachers are being trained on first, okay, all right.
already built in. The other aspect is that those programs are what the teachers do. They're ready.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, I'm ready now.
All right. Any other board questions or comments? Okay. Our motion was made by trustee Townsend, supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to the approval for our annual instructional material for the magnet program contracts. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, this is trustee Gainsley. I move that the Board of Education approve the STEM Lab the Sam Lab STEAM Kits quote for a purchase amount of $29,934. The Bloom of Minnesota quote for Holmes Elementary School, a purchase amount of $33,803.20. And the Bloom of Minnesota quote for Ford Early Learning Center for a purchase amount of $33,803.20.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Gainsleigh. Is there support for this motion?
Support trustee Townsend.
Thank you. Supported by trustee Townsend. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to the acceptance of the field trip request for Ypsilanti Community High School Band Camp going to Echo Grove Camp, August 5th through the 10th of 2024. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, trustee Fields move that the Board of Education approve the week-long field trip of the Ypsilanti Community High School Marching Band Program, August 5th through the 10th, 2024, to learn the 2024 Marching Band Show.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Fields. Is there support for this motion?
Support Vice President Lee.
Thank you. Supported by Vice President Lee. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, please. I have one
Mhm.
thing to ask. I have no problem with the band going, but this is a Salvation Army camp, and it's a Christian camp. And I just want to know, do the parents know that this is a Christian camp? And if so, are they, the camp, do they involve like Christian learning or anything?
It's just on that site premise. It's from our, as you got the email also from Mr. Mice, who asked, because you're getting it this date, but they've asked ahead of time, they're just hosting it there on that site. Our band director, along with our band boosters, are doing all the teaching and they're just hosting it and using their food facility, their bunker, all those things. Is not hosted by the people on the site or learning Christian principles.
Okay. All right. Any other board comments or questions? A motion was made by trustee Fields, supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to item number 10, which is a discussion item, and this is our second read of our Neola policy updates. Board, as you recall, our last board meeting, we went through for the first read of these Neola policy updates, and this is coming to us as a second read, and the floor is open for discussion. Yes, trustee Goodrich.
Thank you, Madam President. I have just two things I wanted to note in this package. So I saw that the updates that we suggested in the first read to policy 1615 were made, so that those are now aligned with our other tobacco policies. And then the other one amendment I wanted to suggest for policy 6325. As we discussed in the last subcommittee meeting, there's been a subsequent revision suggested by Neola. And this is like one small number, but if you go down to the contract price analysis, it is on the second to last page. If you're going down and looking at the suggested updates to this policy under contract price analysis, in the first line of the first paragraph, Neola has suggested that we update that number from $150,000 to $250,000. And
I'm sorry, what policy was that again?
I'm sorry,
6325.
6325. So 6325, second to last page, first paragraph under contract price analysis. Neola has suggested that we update the $150,000 threshold for performing a cost or price analysis, that we update that to $250,000. I wanted to propose that in this read that we make that amendment to policy 6325. And I
Thank
just
you,
read-
trustee Gaisley.
Goodrich.
Go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry, trustee Goodrich. I don't know why I said trustee Gaisley. Thank you, trustee Goodrich. Ms. Hayes, did you catch the update, this update? For that amount? It is, okay.
I just wanted to be sure that we highlighted that because that was something that we discussed in our subcommittee meeting in between the first and second reads. So
And it's
to be
already
sure that
captured.
we're all on
Okay.
board.
Thank you. Any, oh, I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have 6325 in my packet.
You said 6325?
Yeah, I'll have to go back on my own. packet.
They're all on the same sheet. I have it. They're on I'm on my phone though, but I have it. Yeah. It's on an attachment.
I can pass it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's on there.
I'm
I'm just
yeah, if I
scanning
see
them
it here.
quickly, see if I can.
I don't have the hard copy in front of me. but- Okay. I'll just make a note of it.
Mm. Okay. These are also all online.
I do have, a question as well.
Go ahead, trustee Townsend.
It's in regards to, policy 0144.1 regarding, compensation.
Mhm.
It references here, and I believe we talked about it before. So like we would get reimbursed for board meetings, but then it has reimbursement for mileage would not exceed the current rate established by the IRS, and it says attendance at a board-approved conferences should be at a location closest to the district. And then it also talks about, it just mentions conferences, but it does not mention, other meetings where we're representing the board. Specifically, like if we're representing the board for the WASB or those types of things. So it does not clarify that it's not listed as a meeting versus a conference. It's not clarified between the two.
So is that the policy, one of the policies that we're covering in 10C on the first read from that package?
I'm reading through. Trustee Townsend, can you restate what do you see that, say again?
So the question I have is that it says expenses will be in reverse only for activities authorized by the board. Then it says reimbursements for mileage will not exceed the current rate established by the IRS, attendance at board-approved conferences. And then it also in D, it says when attending a board-approved conference, all reasonable fees, parking, mileage, meals, and housing will be reimbursed. But I don't see where it just says conferences. It does not list meetings. It says a board-approved activities, but there's no clarification of what is considered a board-approved activity. So do we need to note that in the policy?
So that the language is consistent?
Correct.
We can note that to make sure that conferences is throughout. So there's no.
Is it conferences or meetings where we're representing the board?
So the conferences part is clear.
Mhm.
What you're questioning or wondering about would be the meetings.
Right.
So I think the policy is relegated to board meetings, not any other meetings outside of board meetings.
Right, but when we had this policy looked at before,
Uh-huh.
we discussed specifically, we could not get reimbursed for WASB meetings, but we could get reimbursed for mileage to and from those meetings. Because we're representing the district in our board.
I don't want to derail this conversation. I don't know if this is a point of order, but those, this policy we need to visit under our first read for 10C. I don't know if we've closed out our discussion for the second read of the policies in 10A at this point.
Oh, for the previous.
Yeah, sorry, we've got a lot of policies
No,
tonight, I
sir.
know.
It is a lot. I'm just making, I'm making notes, regarding this policy. I thought we had already settled this policy, but I'm making notes, trustee Townsend, regarding your questions to clean up the language so it's clear and explicit what the reimbursement amounts are. But to your point, trustee Goodrich, you're saying that we did not close out 10.
I guess I'm just asking if we've closed out the review for the
Yes.
second read from 10A, and so now we're
Okay.
proceeding to what we covered in the first, what we're bringing for the first read for 10B. So those are the September 2023 policies, and then this last one is in the package for the February 2024 policies.
Oh, okay. No. Yes, we need to close out the discussion, is the bottom line. Yes, I'm just looking back and forth between the two. Thank you for getting us back on track, trustee Goodrich. Okay, board, are there any other comments or points of discussion before we move on?
I do, for these evaluation of superintendent, 1240. That's the policy.
That one is in 10Z when we get to the
Oh.
first read on those policies.
Yep, we're not there yet, but
All right.
we'll get there.
Okay.
But anything else in this section?
Nope.
And this will come back to the board again for approval. Next, that takes us to the first reading of our Neola policy updates, volume 38, number 1. And this is also a discussion item. The floor is open for discussion from the board. And this is the first reading of this section of policy updates. What we just went through was the second reading of the policy updates that we talked about at our last board meeting, but this is our first reading of the policy updates for this section.
Volume.
Trustee Goodrich, I'm sorry, I missed your hand.
No worries. Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to note that I appreciate the brief narratives that are included in our packet to summarize the updates from Neola for each of these policies. I do think, I don't know, for policy 2370, if we may need to revisit this one. I know we had a lot of discussion at the subcommittee about exactly which of our programs this may or may not cover. And I just noticed before the meeting, reading the latest version, I think we might need to revisit that one before we, well, and I guess we will before the second read. But I think that we may have removed too much, and I'm not sure the policy serves the purposes intended for at this point. But I think it's more than we can maybe hash out with the full board right now. The others, 2712 are just, I think good, reaffirms the district's ability to restrict weapons on campus. And the additional language in the free and reduced price meals are very much aligned with the practices of our district anyway.
Mhm. So 2370, clarity on the language, omissions, additions to this policy. This is our first read, but we need to
Yeah.
review that one again, is what I hear you saying, Trustee Goodrich.
I think so, yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions about this section of our policies? That's 2370, 7217, and 8531. Next, we're on item C, which is the first reading of Neola Policy Updates, Volume 38, Number 2. That includes 1240, 2410, 2414, 2418, 6320, 6321, 6350, 8800, and 0144.1.
Madam President?
Mhm.
If it's okay, I'd like to just highlight a couple of things from the subcommittee meeting. And I think that the narrative summaries of the policy updates in the packet are really good.
That would be great. Thank you.
Certainly. So for policy 2410, I know we spent a fair amount of time trying to parse that and parse what was going on with the updates there. I appreciate that the summary here makes it clear that the intent is to rescind policy 2410. So I believe that's the action that we should be taking as a board as well. I know that during subcommittee, we talked about different language, and right now we see both the rescinded policy and our older current policy.
Mhm.
But just to be clear that we're moving to rescind that or we're suggesting rescinding that policy.
Mhm.
And then for the change that was made that's suggested during this read, this revision of policy 10144 on compensation, the change that was made was to tie per diem rates to the U.S. General Services Administration rates so that we would have up-to-date rates for locations both within Michigan and throughout the United States for the various places that folks may be traveling on district business. So that was the only change that we suggested from our current policy to this revised policy.
Anything else, Trustee Goodrich?
No, I appreciate Vice President Lee. If there's anything else you want to ask, the 1240 basically brings the evaluation of the superintendent in line with the new legislation that we've been trained on.
Yes. So all the board members are supposed to have this training before
Mhm.
To be qualified.
evaluation?
That is correct.
Okay. So even when the election It's coming in November. And if we have new board members, are they supposed to have that training too? Or they don't do the evaluation, right? They don't,
They will
because
get,
they don't start until January.
That's
we-
when they take their oath.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So it'll be still the old board members doing the evaluation. Okay, gotcha.
but as I remember, we got trained very quickly after the election results were in. So they will, I'm sure, be duly trained.
Okay,
They will.
so they can still sit in or no? The new board members, if there should be any new ones on the board,
The
they
vice,
can't sit in for the evaluation? No.
hopefully the evaluation will be in before then
It will. It'll be,
with the old board members.
it will, yes, it will.
Well,
be
well, our current,
Before they, it'll be
our
before
current.
our current board members that are
established board
seated.
members.
Yes.
Don't want to say old board members, our current
But-
illustrious board members.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And there will be many opportunities for that, the new board members to be trained once they get onboarded.
Right.
This is wonderful.
Mhm.
Okay.
But great question. Thank you, Vice President Lee. And I think
Always
our
thinking
board,
ahead.
yes. And we will all be ready for this evaluation cycle. Some of our board members were already trained, some board members were trained tonight, so we'll be all set for this year's evaluation, yes. Yep. Anything else in this section? And Trustee Townsend, I do have your comment that you raised earlier noted for clarity on the language about the reimbursement as it relates to mileage for meetings.
Mhm.
Seeing no other comments, that takes us to action item number 11, which is the adoption of the Neola policy updates from the second reading. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, this is Trustee Goodrich. I move that the Board of Education adopt the Neola policy updates as presented, Volume 37, Number 2, February 2023.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion?
She don't have to read the policy. Do she? No, okay.
So a motion was made by Trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion?
Trustee Fields, I support.
Thank you. Supported by Trustee Fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to action item number 12 under Business and Finance, which is the approval for tables for our computer lab at the Willow Run and Ace buildings. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Vice President Lee move that the Board of Education approve the ISCG quote for the purchase amount of $28,141.55 for computer tables, and two, ISCG quote for a purchase amount of $35,485.01 for mounts for monitors.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion?
Support
Trustee
Trustee Townsend.
Thank you. Supported by Trustee Townsend. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, that takes us to item 13, which is our second public comment portion of this evening. Ms. Haynes, have any public comment cards come in? Thank you, Ms. Haynes. That takes us to item 14, which is Board of Education Subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports at this time?
Madam President?
Yes, trustee
Uh,
Goodrich.
I'll put the LRN in here just really quick and um, echo the information we got in our board update from Mesa about the call to action around the um, school aid budget and the MIPSR's legislation. We should definitely keep the pressure on for that. The one-time MIPSR's money is something, but the impact is not exactly equitable, and the legislature decided to, in addition to that, give money to the charter schools that aren't impacted by MIPSRs was perplexing. It's still the lack of a increase in the foundation allowance seems problematic. Just wanted to elevate and echo that the need to take advantage of those action opportunities and reach out to our legislators about getting a bigger MIPSR's relief put into statute so that it's ongoing and not one-time money that we can't use sustainably, that we can't use to make ongoing commitments to our students and our staff. Yeah, that's all I've got. Talk to your legislators.
Thank you, trustee Goodrich. Any other Board of Subcommittee reports? Okay, seeing none, that takes us to item 15. Thank you, board, which is our midterm monitoring, evaluating. This Board of Education, as we know, we engage in a bi-yearly in-progress monitoring of our superintendent. And this midterm monitoring session also provides us an opportunity to self-assess. So at this time, I would like to invite Dr. Zachary Ross to introduce and welcome our facilitator for our midterm monitoring session this evening. Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. I love working side by side with our board president as we plan and work together. I've been working together with our facilitator from the Michigan Association of School Boards, as she's provided me with information to prepare to give to our board for the superintendent mid-year progress report. So I thank you, Mary Kerwin, for being here and for providing us this opportunity to reflect, to look at where we are mid-year, to really pause and to think about where we are so that we can progress forward. So thank you for coming tonight.
It's a pleasure. And this time of year, we actually have the results from a lot. So at the beginning of the year, you and your team present goals and then the strategies to achieve those goals. And at this time of year, we go back and look at how do we do? And it looks like you did very, very well. And so part of this is to share the very good news. And then also in each section that is covered under your final evaluation, having to do with finances, achievement, community support, all of those pieces we embed here to see, are we on target? How might we improve? And how can the board help? So those are pieces. So we start out with some of the student achievement pieces. You include overall for MDE and WEA and math and reading all indicate effectiveness. And then as part of the queries is, what are we going to do next and how can we accomplish more? I think in the reading area, you've highlighted that some of the areas. Is there a question? No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
We usually conduct the midterm monitoring. Again, it can be a question, but there's a lot of good news we'd like to share with the community. Okay. Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Very
we're doing the midterm monitoring right now, not the evaluation.
Yes. So some of this pieces in reading, this district, as we know, nationally and globally, there had been an approach to reading. And when you came in, discovered was, this was a weaker area. And one of the things that you highlight in the midterm monitoring is the introduction of phonics and making through that goes all the way through 3. Would you like to speak anything about your anticipation about the reading program coming up for the new year for your younger L students?
Yes, I really appreciate the fact that, as you talked about, when I came in, we did not have that core instruction. We had a lot of different programs, but we did not have a core program. So I really appreciate the fact that the board allowed us to purchase HMH and allowed us to not only purchase HMH, but then do the ongoing professional development and put instructional coaches in every building. So with that came this year, with that ongoing professional development, they said, all right, what we now need is for us to look at what will we do next. And they said, because we're still not doing what we need to do. And so they piloted one of the programs, and they allowed us to purchase an additional program that will go deeper, that will meet the new needs of our students. So we have multilanguage learners, so we'll be able to do that, along with, as you heard Vice President Lee ask, what is this now that we're doing? And so now what you heard us talk about Alex and Amira, and what those programs do is they look at and match, and that's the one part I thought Carlos would talk about, is they match NWEA for our teachers. So that's the part I'm really excited about, is that it takes the workload, the piece that he did not say, is it takes the workload off the teachers, and it matches up one-on-one with the students, and so it's quicker, it responds really fast, and so the students make unbelievable reading gains quickly, and it takes that workload off the teachers. And so right away, it's like a one-on-one tutor for the teachers. It engages it really is known for engaging students, and it's for every student. So as students who are already ahead, they can go fast. But then also for students who need that support, it helps them and matches them where they are and helps them increase. So we anticipate huge increases. We already have been seeing increases, but it's right there engaging with them one-on-one, and it's right where they are. And the best part that I want to talk to, and you heard them talk about the people support what they help create, is that we heard it from the teachers and the instructional staff. So they came in this room and they selected those materials, not us, not Carlos, not principals, but the people who will be working with the materials. That's what's the best part. And it's research-based.
And again, those are lower L, or early ones again, to the goal of making sure by 3rd grade.
Absolutely. And then when you see the other gains, is that what we saw at the middle school this year, when we saw the data really increase with the Read 180 program. And so that we knew, we had been hearing about it, but what we saw in the Read 180, and then that same program being implemented with Nina Harris and that middle school team, that's who really came in and told us about it. We can see it happening at the elementary, but they implemented with fidelity, and we saw those scores. They brought the data, and it really happened at the middle school, and we saw the numbers really spike. And we know we still have issues at those transitional grades, but in our ELA in the middle school, that ELA team, they implemented, they came together, they put in a plan, and the scores shot up.
And then you've had increase also in math and science and social studies. You also include in answers to some of the questions on some of the initiatives and measures you've been doing on that as well.
Absolutely.
So in part, I think that the board and this district is very lucky is that you actually are in the classrooms a lot. There is no assumption that all this will just happen. You are in there and have also set up that coaching and mentorship, and you yourself coach and mentor and mentor others as well.
Yeah, I believe also, again, the support of eye observation. They're passing these things. I mean, sometimes I think that they're looking at them saying, well, what is this? You know, people laugh and say, we don't necessarily want to come to the board because the board is asking lots of questions. And it's a good thing because they're saying, well, what's eye observation? What's this about? And it's a part of the reason why this works. It's not like, okay, the building administrators are doing this. What is this learning focus partner? Why is it? But because people are in the classrooms, people are partnering, people are seeing what's, you know, inspect what you expect. And it's not an inspect because we're checking on you. It's, okay, how can we help? Well, how can we assist? What's happening? And it's every single person. I know I have conversations with some board members like, okay, does this teacher really care about these students? Every single one of them. And it's a good conversation because that's the real conversation we have to have. Because then I had to go back and say, is it every single one of them? Because we know that is it every, that's that hard word, every. And so the only way we know is that every is that if you have a conversation with me, I got to go back and check. And that's the real conversations that we have. And that puts us back into check because it's not a conversation that every time you have. And so it puts you back in a humble place where you say, I better go and check that class.
There has been a desire from the community and direction of this board regarding the rigor and the support. And in the piece that you go through on your midterm monitoring, you have paired each time that emphasis on rigor and the support. I think that Ypsilanti is unique in many, many ways and has set the bar, but you've had success after success after success because you honor that piece. I didn't know if you wanted to speak to anything.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. High expectations, but high level support. So what it does, I think, is allows vulnerability and creativity and innovation and allows people to ask those questions. We had negotiations today, and people were, we talked about today being curious and not furious. In my very first meeting this morning. And so even you see the emotion, you see tears, you see that come because people are ready to put, like we have up here, those norms, to put ideas on the table because we're not afraid to say we got high rigor, but we're going to support you. And that's when that you can have that and put it out there, not for adult issues, but for children issues. And if everybody can come and put that at the table, then you can press forward towards the goal of high expectations and high achievement and for children. Because if you put adult issues there, then that's the barricade. And so then we can all move forward. And it's not out of perfection. See, that's those adult issues, and it's almost that cultural norm that goes beyond. You can't be about multilinguals and multicultures. We get beyond that here. It's about what do our students need.
Speaking of, I know you're in negotiations now. There are some HR needs I know that you want to have in place by the time schools. This building was full of meetings today, and I happened to see a young principal who's, in looking for 3 more hires to be made. So you still have some needs, and then the board will be kept abreast of that when school starts. I know you are seeking, and you go ahead if you'd like to speak to any of those seeking new hires.
Oh yeah, we're still looking just like all the other districts, and that's why we're working so hard to negotiate with our both of our unions to make sure we have a wonderful contract, and they're working with us. And so we're working and being as creative as we can. And that's why it's so strong, talking about having that stronger together, and why the culture is so important, and people are coming here for the culture. I've never been in a negotiation. I was on the phone with Dr. Hawkins and I want to thank our YCEA, where you come into negotiations and people are bringing pizza and making cookies for you and smiling. I said, I've never walked into and I don't care what kind of industry you are, and the people are saying they making this for us because they're saying thank you. And like, that's how the culture is. When you walking into negotiations, and I'm on the phone telling her, do you know they made cookies and they made this? And they know, because you're coming for good faith. You're coming in a room to do work on behalf of everybody. Even though you might not come, you got different, but you're coming knowing that that's the good faith. And it's every meeting, not like it came once. They're coming every single meeting. And they want to work on behalf of every student, on every unit, for every thing. And so when people are applying, and even though we have openings, they're like, I got to come to a place like this. And other people are telling folks about it. And so that's one of them things is, if you're listening, folks, it's priceless. Like you can't pay for that. And so it's not, and even when I talk to other vendors, which we call our partners, they're like, yeah, we thought your district was so big, because when other people talk about it, it's a bigness, it's the excitement of it, it's different. And so we're gonna match it as more students come, as more budgets come, we are gonna be, and as this contract closes, we're gonna be able to align it with matching dollars and matching pay. And that's why we're attracting the very, very best.
So you kind of touched a little bit on culture and climate, which and again, I think it's a wonderful quality here. It's also a piece that is covered in the midterm, because we looked at, again, some of the data that came in on attendance. We know we've had some off years because COVID was very, very difficult to figure on attendance. But the results on attendance, it seems as though attendance is increasing over time. Would you like to speak anything, or?
It is
It's an observation.
and I want to again appreciate the board for giving us the support, because they're with Concentric, and they're supporting our amazing parent liaisons. They're going out knocking on doors. Again, the relationship, because they can't do it alone. So they've got, our climate and culture coaches, our social workers, who do the follow-up, because they got to do the cost to find out what's the barriers of why you're not coming. A lot of it is there's still COVID. There's still, rationales and reasons. And so we've got to figure out what it is, the reason why, so that we can come in. If you had a bad experience, we got to fix those things. Yes. And if there's those other things, we've got to be the ones. We've got to work in partnership with parents. We've got to be the ones to make it where if you have a bus situation, which people are telling us this summer was so much better and the routing is getting better. Like, those are the things that in the past were situations, yet our transportation director was the new staff member of the year. So she's, even over the summer, the responses have been the most positive, with our 10 new electric buses going out and that being positive. So, those are the things that we're trending more positively, because people weren't coming to school because transportation just wasn't right. So as we're getting systems in place to improve, people can come to school. As we're having parent liaisons working, in the training from Concentric is helping, which they have an app that is telling us right away to the schools, hey, this is the problem, and then we can fix it before they even get back to the schools. So it's about systems. Like, before, our blueprint systems were telling us, okay, here's what's happening in the school. Now the system is happening outside. So it just takes, with any system, it takes just a little longer, and it's finally, it's just all trickling down. It's all, as we talk about fractaling out, it was taking, like you said, with the pandemic a little longer. I just see it working together within all of our, what we call intense student support network. That's the non-academic it's all working together. And so as we're adding, as you talked about staff, we know we have had a shortage of social workers and other mental health staff. All of that comes together because after the pandemic, that was a big piece too of why people weren't coming. And so we're gonna continue to work. We found out we got a smaller grant, 190,000, as Dr. Lopez has been working. We've applied for a larger grant for mental health, and we're looking forward to that TEAMS grant. Because we believe that as we think about that whole child part, and you and I, you've talked about that here, as we continue to work on that, we believe that as we continue to be the community school, we will attract more and get students in school and be in school more because they'll want to be more engaged, want to be here. Because that's what we'll continue to focus on.
And you have been quite an advocate for that. I don't know if Bridge Magazine knows that there are other superintendents they could call, but they call you a lot. And so
Every week.
you're featured in Bridge a lot as an advocate and also, but tonight we'd also like to show, we know that attendance has been an ongoing issue nationally. And that in the New York Times, which has a podcast every day for 30 minutes. One of the situations that they looked at was attendance. And it was a kind of a depressing podcast until they featured families from Ypsilanti who were talking about how much it meant to them that outreach had happened. So that was just happenstance that I listened to that. But I want to highlight again nationally on some of these initiatives that you've been making, that idea of let's go to the homes. We are a family. You matter. Everyone. All of those pieces together have a dramatic impact on one family, on every family. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that piece on attendance. The other thing that we've come up and you have diagrammed quite successfully in here is about suspensions, expulsions, and other pieces having to do with that. You have charts which illustrate who, what, why. What learning have you come? I know that you do a number of initiatives. Perhaps you would highlight those in looking at some of those numbers.
Yeah, even today, this was our first meeting of the year with administrators. We talked about disproportionality with special education students. We talked about what processes need to be in place. We've met with our attorney, Michelle Edie, which is our specific special ed attorney. I don't even think we talk about that enough with our board. We go over our data with her. We meet with our WISD consultant and we're having a training already set up with our administrators, who then also meet with their staff to talk about what do we do prior to suspensions, everything about our multi-tiered systems of support. It is even coming down to what we're doing proactively in our negotiations to think about what do we put in place proactively in every single building to with our MTSS. Dr. Lopez, even in this previous year, what we did, we had some buildings who were in the continuous systems of improvement levels. And instead of just working with some buildings, we said every building could benefit from this training of multi-tiered systems of support. So we brought the building network teams in to look at and review our processes and think about how we can improve them. And then that led to, well, every building might need some support after we started hearing about what the teams were saying during negotiations. So that, again, we're trying to be proactive instead of just reactive all the time and thought about, okay, well, what do our teams need? Because the people who lead these teams are amazing when you think about the deep work that what they do proactively to, instead of putting people in special ed, instead of pushing people out of school, they're doing lots of things to have people in school. Mm-hmm. The other thing we're working to do with some of the mental health grants is think about who we can have our students talk to every single day. There's also a checklist to do that we've looked at and saying, how do we find out how every student is feeling every day? So there are different opportunities to have them to even talk into bots and different things, to just have every single student knowing, are they okay? And if not, how do we do a checklist and check in? And if they need support, having them talk to a social worker. So some of those proactive things that then what we're seeing is that data will then help us with less suspensions, hopefully less fights. And we're seeing in the high school, what they've been doing is having like some dances. They do dances in the lunchroom. They have different weekly, like they have Western Fridays. They have different themed weeks, and that has really helped them. They've been tracking the data.
It's interesting that you bring that up, the idea of doing a dance or exercise, because one of the pieces that comes out in your monitoring is you see after 5th grade, there seems to be a drop in some achievement, like a 2-year drop. And for those of us who remember how elementary schools work, there was recess. Even in your professional development, I know that there are walkarounds. Now we're going to go outside the building. Now we're going to do some other things with adults. So we know how important those pieces are. So when you remark about dances and other things, some of that physical activity that all of a sudden we take kids and now you're going to sit here and you're going to just walk, between classes. That's really, so it's just something to think about. If we're doing that with ourselves as we learn through professional development or walk around or doing something like that, and we embody it in the elementary, if we see kind of that drop, how might we do some physical pieces? So something to think about. That's okay. I don't. Yeah. I'm sure that you'll report in a year whether that. Okay. We know that auditors come in the fall. We've heard, as you mentioned, some of the finances which have already come out. We saw in the paper again the forgiveness of the loans. Ypsilanti, you advocated not only for yourselves, but you advocated for a whole number of schools that actually finally bore fruition, so that the retirement of those loans means that the millages raised will go into the classroom. Have you spoken about that at a number of meetings? I don't want you to have to.
No, we're just, again, so thankful. This board has worked tirelessly, even before I came, and they worked side by side. They've advocated, and then they allowed me to go to Lansing. I know that even our unions worked side by side. There were writing campaigns by our parents and community members. So again, thank you to everyone who worked with us to get this debt forgiven, the debt that came out of consolidation. And so now the millage rates, the tax rates for our community members have gone down. And I'm just so proud of the work that everyone has done together so that our community can feel this relief. Our school district alone, the $2 million a year relief allows us to be able to go into bargaining, looking at it differently. And then now we're at that next stage where we can talk to Treasury about now those next steps, about those additional funds that we can use to talk about what we can do for recruitment and retention of teachers, what we can do for marketing, what we can do for some of the other building pieces that were in legislation. So I'm really hoping to have that next conversation at the end of this month so that we can hear about how we can access those funds and really demonstrate to them how we can use those funds responsibly.
You've spoken again, featured in Bridge, but have spoken about the loss of some of the funding specifically, which was important. But I see that you have quite a few in your finances. You have so many different grants that you have applied to, over 200 million. Yeah, I mean, it's substantial. Would you like to?
Well, just quickly, one of the things we really are proud that we have been looking at Grow Your Own funds. And so we know, right now in the state of Michigan, it's difficult, as you talked about, to find, staff members, and we're competing. So we have to grow our own. So we're looking at, parent to teacher programs. We're looking at teachers. We can't find teachers necessarily who are able to, look at some of our dual immersion programs. So some of our teachers have said, I want to teach in those areas. So we're getting them credentialed, through Wayne State University. We're, using some funds to have our teachers nationally board certified. And so looking at grant funds to really support us. The biggest grant, recently that we're really proud of is our Magnet School grant. And so next year, we're implementing, as you heard, our board, approve these Magnet, School funds. We have our STEAM schools, so we'll have Ford, starting next year. Ford and Holmes will be STEAM buildings. And then our International Baccalaureate will be at the Ypsilanti Community Middle School and at the high school. And so we're really excited about these expansions and how it will, again, push the rigor in our schools. And we believe it's going to draw in some students who are interested in these programs and opportunities to grow in their own ways.
The summer programs indeed keep kids connected and also attract kids. How do you feel about the summer program?
Oh my goodness, our staff knocked it out the park this year. And so thank you to our Grizzly, Learning Camp, staff members who just led the way. They had so many demonstrations of what they did. Our parents were wonderful partners, but mostly our scholars. Our scholars are outstanding. And we had, over 100 students outside of the district to apply, but over, almost 1,400 students apply, who came in. And so we know Grizzly Learning Camp is an important extension. We know we hear a lot about summer learning loss, but when they're involved in Grizzly Learning Camp, they just learn in a different way. They're engaged, hands-on learning, project-based learning. And so we're just so excited that the fact that our own staff, they're not outside staff, our own amazing staff, come in during the summer, sacrifice that time, but they know that time is all about hands-on engaged learning. And so it's a wonderful opportunity, but our scholars just really outdo themselves, because they come in, they're ready to learn, and they just show what it is, the geniuses that they really are. And so we want to just continue on with this opportunity. We know, again, we use, grant funds to fund the program, and our board supports us all the way around by supporting the scholars, by offering transportation, by offering food services. And so we just appreciate the fact that we can offer that.
I saw when I came up the meet and eat. So, yeah, that's an included package so that you not only have your scholars, but they're fed and ready to learn, which is really, really important. So we've covered a number of areas. We haven't done all of the report that you have prepared, but all the compliance pieces are included. A lot of work went into this. I wonder if there are any board questions specifically on any of the information that has been presented or comments.
I don't know if I have any questions, specifically, because everything is pretty laid out here in the mid-term monitoring report that we received. But I just want to take a minute just to pause to say, this is an important time of the year for us to kind of reflect on how far we've come and then how far we still are planning to go. And so I appreciate these sessions because it affords us an opportunity to think about all of the initiatives, all of the actions we've taken, whether it be curriculum changes, whether it be supports that go into our classrooms, all the updates, to kind of pause and look at this report. And I say, oh, I remember that. I remember that. So I'm just so proud of all we've accomplished. And then to think about kind of what's next for YCS, I think is just powerful. And it's a good story to be able to tell at this point in time and really primes us for the upcoming evaluation.
You commented to the board that you appreciate all their support. Is there anything else the board could do Perhaps you'll talk about that at your retreat, but is there anything else that the board could do in support of initiatives that you've laid out?
I think they've done a wonderful job attending, really being present and going to the buildings. I think asking those questions is very helpful, and even calling and pulling me in and saying, hey, be aware of this, and calling me right in time. They don't wait. I think that's really important, is calling me when they're hearing things that are happening that are especially concerning. That's really important. One of those things that we're really working on this year especially is making sure we think about those special education vacancies. That's something that's really important to us, and making sure we're hearing about those special populations. That's something that we're really keeping our ear on. And so that's something I want to make sure we're focusing on this year.
We know, you have someone who's very active legislatively, and we appreciate that. However, there is a bill, that's been languishing in the State House regarding third grade. You brought up, will the material that we're bringing in look at dyslexia and some of those other specifics? That's part of a bill that's in the State House regarding third grade reading, but it hasn't moved. So does it take an election? We don't, what specific it does. I'm sure that you all work on that. However, Ypsilanti doesn't wait. If there's a benefit to children, Ypsilanti will lead the way.
Mhm.
And they lead the way, as you said, with found funds or targeted funds or do whatever. Because we cannot wait for the state of Michigan to release certain pieces. So congratulations to you to make sure that the materials are there so that students can move forward. Thank you.
Other comments or questions from the board?
Thank you, Madam President. Again, these pieces are found in the superintendent evaluation. I'll return again at the end of the year where we'll go through all of those pieces.
Mhm.
There has been new legislation regarding that. All training has been provided. You have the new instrument. So everyone should be prepared for that in December. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Mary Kerwin. You always do such a nice job of helping to facilitate these sessions, and you've been with us for a long time, and that institutional knowledge helps us to learn and to grow, and to kind of reflect on our progress. And Superintendent Zachary Ross, thank you for all that you continue to do for this district and your vision, and your insight and that of your team, that will push us forward and help us to kind of bring all the things that are still outstanding to fruition. And just one quick note that I want to make before I move on to close us out as we get the rest of the business conducted for the board, is that this was a check-in. And a check-in doesn't require that we go into a closed session. It's just our quarterly monitoring, and it's just an opportunity for the trustees, the superintendent, to have a discussion, to kind of reflect on where we are, to talk about some of those responsibilities that are, that the superintendent has, and kind of visioning and thinking ahead about how we will continue to move the district forward. So I appreciate, having the opportunity, as I said earlier, to reflect on where we are and kind of where we're going. But I know that there might have been a little bit of confusion about, was this, wait, are we going, is it the evaluation? So I just wanted to say that. Yeah. Yes. Right, it's a good question, and I wanted to make sure that we clarified it, so it didn't create any confusion, so yeah. All right, thank you, Dr. Zachary Ross, and thank you, Mary Kerwin. All right. We will move board to, board superintendent comments at this time. Are there any comments from the board?
Yes, Madam President, Vice President Lee. Madam President did send us an email stating that the board was selected to present at MASB conference in October 24th through the 27th,
Yes.
and also at CUBE conference, October 28th,
Mhm.
I believe. We are slotted to present at the MASB conference that Friday. I don't know if everyone is going to the MASB. And I don't know who's presenting.
Anybody else like that? I know I'm going to be huge. So there's a, we know for that presentation, but I didn't, that's fine, it would in for me for Thursday.
Right. So my question is, if the board is presenting that Friday, is the delegate for MASB going? And if I'm still obligated to vote, if the delegate or if the alternate is going, am I still obligated to vote?
But we talked about that. We talked about that a couple months ago, right?
I was willing to go and vote, but since we are presenting at the MASB and we're gonna be there, I was just wondering,
Right? That's what you want.
yes, who's going and who's presenting? And if the delegate is gonna be there, and if the alternate is gonna be there,
I think you were supposed to just go for voting, which you said you said you were gonna go for the vote, so that means I wasn't going after that.
yeah.
Right,
But I'm
so-
saying now that MASB, if we're presenting at the MASB,
Yeah, who's presenting? Yeah, you're right, I know what you're saying,
Okay.
I have read more, I've been included and we know about presenting a Q. I've never heard any more else, I know that we were elected to do it at MESC, but I haven't heard anything else about what that was gonna look like for MESC.
I'm just putting it out there.
Right, I understand, but I
Okay.
didn't hear anything else besides that.
I think similar, and a lot of time has passed, I think similar to what we did last year, we were, we presented at CUBE last year, we also presented at MESB, so we're doing the same thing this year. And I know that I'm going to be one of the presenters, it's October, so it's a little bit of a ways away. And we still have yet to have discussions on what board members would be willing to and able to present at the MASB conference, but I know that I'm slated to be one of the presenters.
Mhm.
And I know Dr. Zachary Ross will be there as well, and then I'll have to figure out how to get to CUBE after that.
Right?
Yep.
And I know I'll be
It's
presenting,
gonna be a busy
because I'll be
weekend.
there.
Mhm.
It's still not too late to go, I mean, to sign up to go, I guess, and if we're presenting, I guess we wanna try to beat that, right? 'Cause-
Well, first we had to get our proposal accepted, and
Yeah,
since
right.
our proposal
That
was,
hasn't been accepted yet, so, okay, so.
it has been.
It
That's
has
why I sent that notice out to the board to say our proposal was accepted. And so we are slated to present at MESB and CUBE this year. So now we have to decide, since that just came hot off the press. And I knew in my mind that I was gonna be at both, but it's open and I want board members to make some decisions about what they can and what they cannot do. But it's open, as many board members who wanna attend are welcome to attend. So you have some time to think about it.
I'm letting you know, because October will be here in no time.
It will.
That's a good question, Dr. Sherry, great question.
I know.
Look at your calendars and let us know as soon as possible. How about that? I said, look at your calendars and let us know. Okay, all right. Any other board comments?
Madam President?
Yes, trustee
I'm
Goodrich.
sorry. I definitely don't want to step on any toes here, but I wanted to observe that the filing deadline has passed for running for school board, and just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone, including President Hawkins, who filed to run. We hear a lot at MASB and nationally about how hard it can be to fill board seats, and I'm so grateful to be in a community where we have this level of engagement and commitment to our students, because we know it's not it's not a sexy elected position. And everyone who does this isn't in it for power or prestige, but we're all here for the kids. So I'm really grateful for everyone who filed to run. I know that for me, certainly running for school board was a learning process, and I just want to encourage, as I know all of us do, anyone who's running to reach out and talk to any and all of us. I know talking with Superintendent Zachary Ross when I was running was incredibly valuable. We're all always learning about the community and the kids first and foremost who we serve. And I know we still have a few more months to serve together, but I wanted to express my appreciation for Trustee Schindler and Trustee Gainsley, who will now be rolling off at the end of December.
Thank you so much, Trustee Goodrich. Other board comments?
I guess I need to turn this on, right? So I was able to stop by the back to school events. I got my t-shirt
Nice.
representing, so everything was nice and it looked good. The setup was set up a little different than in the past, but it looked like it was a nice turnout. The kids were happy with the backpacks. Everybody was doing good. It was a nice turnout. They had the people there cutting hair and all that. I think they had a line. They had the face painters. I just want to see another face painter next time, so we don't have such a big, rush over there for the one, but that was nice. I received my yard sign. It must have came from like a yard sign barrier or something because it just appeared. And I was like, okay, this is nice. So I don't know who did it. And then whoever gave it to me even turned it around when the next event came. Like, okay, who's doing that? Because I didn't do that because they were two-sided, but someone, I don't know who did that, but that was really nice. But I don't even know if they know I live there, but they gave it. And when the new event came, the sign was turned around to the new event. I'm like, okay. But I just want to say I got my yard. That was nice. So I just wanted to say, so thank you, whoever gave it, whoever brought it to me. Thank you for the yard sign. So it was nice. They look good. So,
All right.
and that's all I have. I mean, I'm just saying, it just appeared one day and then they switched it around for me too. Okay, this is beautiful. So thank you. Just wanted to say that to somebody, whoever that might be. And I wanted to say Grizzly Learning Camp, three of my grandkids went this year. One didn't have to go, but he wanted to go because he said it was fun. And then the one who went to the high school, the teachers, all three of his teachers called me, and I wanted to honestly say I was really appreciative of that, to tell me how good he was doing. He did like a 360 from what he was like in the school year, and it's just so encouraging for him. You know, he was not thinking about doing college, so now he's even thinking about it. Now he's a junior. He was like, I don't want to do college. So he's even talking about that now, and he had fun. He didn't want to miss a day. I don't know what about those three teachers he had in Griffin Learning Camp that he didn't have in high school, but he loved going and he did very well. He got all A's. He's excited about learning, and they said that it was impressive for me, to be honest, because he was like, he never talked in the class. He never did it. They said he was encouraging other kids to learn. He was he participated a lot. And it was just when he didn't come, he missed one day. They said, but they noticed it when he didn't come because he was so active and he was so, and he was always trying to encourage the other kids to get involved and do. So I wanted to say I was really impressed, to be honest, with the high school because, we don't ever hear good things about that, and not just because it's mine, but just because it made a big difference in his life, in his learning, and he wanted to learn. You know what I mean? And so it was like a 360. So I just want to say, whoever, I don't know what's going on at the high school, but it was a good turning point for him, and he's excited about school and going back. So I'm just saying. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Fields. I hope the yard sign angels visit me too. Whoever they are, and turn it around the next day. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Say yes to YCS. All right. Any other board comment?
Madam President, I just wanted to also say that I did attend the back to school bash. It was very good. Kudos to Taryn Willis and her team. In regards to that, we had a amazing turnout. There was a lot of activities and vendors there, so I am sure we're going to have a very successful school year. I also would like to thank YCS Partnership I have been running a summer camp for Park Ridge Community Center, and YCS was very instrumental in making sure to remove financial barriers for students that want to attend Park Ridge, and that is an ongoing relationship with WCC and the district. So that is very good. A lot of people didn't know that, but I have had a great opportunity to engage with a lot of our students, and we have some very bright, intelligent young people. Rambunctious. I can't say rambunctious. They keep me on my toes, but it has been very exciting. And the last day or the celebration, so you all will be getting an invitation tomorrow morning for Friday is the last day where we're doing a very good celebration. And they've had major partnerships with other partners of the district, such as Toyota, WCC, University of Michigan, and the Huron River Watershed, Rutherford Pool, again, which are also partners with the district. And we have had a very successful camp, and I'm very excited to see those young students move on and do some great things in YCS. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Townsend. Other board comments? The only comment that I will make, I'll echo what everyone else already said. And thank you, Trustee Goodrich, again for your comments tonight about board service and, you know, what's coming up in November for those of us who are willing to serve again. The Jazz in the Parking Lot event held on July 20th. I think this was our 8th year. It was an outstanding event. It always is. A lot of people came out. It was a beautiful night. But it was just a beautiful event all the way around. A lot of tables with information and advocacy and education and awareness around voting. That was also part of the event. So just an all around great event. And I know there are some other kind of jazz events that are happening throughout the summer that many of us go out and support as well. So I just wanted to say kudos to Taryn as well for, you know, always putting on such a great event. I think Jazz in the Parking Lot was her brainchild when she came to YCS, and it continues to exceed expectations year after year. So I just wanted to give a little shout out for that. And I might be forgetting some comments about things that have happened since our last board meeting, but we know that we all have been here late into the evening. So I appreciate the board's time and patience and grace with allowing us to get through really important parts of our meeting, including the monitoring session, which we know is a big part of our governance and our role as board members. So thank you for hanging. I know it's late. And that's all I got to say. Superintendent, what would you like to share? Oh, okay. Mhm.
You reminded me of this week, Touch a Truck.
Oh,
Touch a Truck is at Tuesday, August 6th from 6 to 8 in YCHS parking lot. So if you have a young person who wants to touch a truck, touch a fire truck, touch a police officer's car, a sheriff's truck, come touch the truck and get inside. It is a wonderful event. You reminded me, I didn't have that on my list until you said, I know there's an event. I'm like, there is an event. Come touch a truck with us. Thank you all for a nice night tonight. It's been wonderful. So thank you for hanging out with us. And yes, thank you for all who came out to the back to school bash and the Jazz in the Parking Lot and all of the lots and the pool, Rutherford Pool, and all those things throughout the community this summer. Mrs. Willis and all of the team have been out this whole summer, coming out and being out in the community, and we really appreciate it. We are here August 26th. Everyone will be here right around the corner. So we're looking forward to welcoming all the new staff already next week. We're ready for you all, the new staff. We are ready to greet you and looking forward to meeting all of you and then having our students come in August 26th. And so we're looking forward to them riding some of our 10 new electric buses and having you all be a part of the Grizzly Nation. And so we are so proud of them and some of the fun things we'll be doing with Toyota and the driving possibilities. And as we talked about the magnet schools, and our most exciting thing is moving and opening up Ypsi Community Middle School. I believe that that opening is it the 21st? All right, Ypsilanti Community Schools grand opening is August 21st at 6 p.m. We're gonna do a little ribbon cutting and opening up so people can see what the Ypsi Community Middle School looks like over at the Willow Run campus. And so part of that magnet school piece is going back over to where some of it began, back over there. And so we're looking forward to seeing what has been happening over the summer, getting it nice and renovated and having students be able to use a larger space with the gyms and the pool. And you've got to come and see it. I'm not going to tell you all about it. You've got to come see for yourself. So thank you for a wonderful evening and join us August 26th on the first day of school and welcoming our scholars in. I know they do some red carpets at the ELC Early Learning Centers and some fun photo ops. So look out for communications about what will be happening on those first days of school. Enjoy the last days of summer. Oh, Dr. Huggins.
Yes, I think Drew's gonna make it too. But August 7th is the
Oh, it's not Tuesday? Oh, it's a thank you. Oh, it's wrong some places. Oh, I'm like, I saw it.
August, it's the 6 to 8, 7, 6 to 8.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So I just, and I saw her wait for me and I'm looking back and check, I said it is the 7th.
Oh,
It's the
thank
7th.
you.
Thank you so much.
And one more thing, please.
Mhm.
This Saturday, Peacenik,
Yes, it's right here. Yes, go ahead.
Peacenik from 3 to
Okay.
6
I'll be here.
Okay.
at the high school parking lot. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 to 7 at the high school parking lot.
Thank you, Vice President
It's
Lee.
peace.
You're welcome.
Peace.
Would you say trustee? Oh, the name. Okay,
Peacenik,
3 to
high
7.
school, this Saturday.
All right. No, I just said we don't meet again until September as a board. But our retreat is this month. Yeah. No, we didn't change any dates. I was just saying as a reminder. Yes, stay tuned. Details will be forthcoming. Yep. All right, anything else from the board or Dr. Zachary Ross? Yes, it is. Thank you again, Mary, for the training, on the superintendent evaluation and for facilitating the midterm monitoring session tonight. And thank you everyone who joined us this evening. We hope you have a good night.